So just any quick injury updates?
Injury updates. Start with the good. The good is that we've been able to recover some guys. So hopefully, we could start utilizing them. It was good for Jose Hernandez to see some minutes in the last match, and right away the kid comes in, and after a minute and a half, he's very influential. So that's always good. We're still working on recovering some of the other guys, and we'll see if they can make it for tomorrow's trip. Hopefully they can, and if they cannot, surely they'll be available for Wednesday versus New Mexico.
How's any update on Gabby specifically, I guess?
So Gabby's going to be out for a couple of weeks. It was the MCL, just like we said after the game. As soon as I saw the tackle, I knew that it was going to be a couple of weeks and that he was going to be sore the next day. So sadly, we're gonna miss him for a couple of weeks. Gabby's been very good for us, very influential on and off the field since he came in last year, and it translated to this year as well. So listen, it's part of the business that we chose. We have a team that has a lot of depth, and now there's going to be some of his teammates that are going to get the opportunity to step on the field, and now they have to prove, how important they can be as well when they're on the field.
What if his presence will be missing on the pitch?
Well, with Gabby, is the important thing about Gabby, one of the most important things is that he understands the game model because he worked in it last year. So he's one of the players that we were able to retain and we decided to bring back, and it gives you that. It gives you the understanding, the awareness of the game model and the idea that we want to implement on the field. So the more players that are used to that are playing at the same time, it makes it a bit easier for the guys around them to understand what we want to do. So that's what we miss with Gabby, but also now we're starting to come into a point in the regular season, and also we've been together for a couple of months where a lot of players are understanding very clearly the way we want to do things and how we want to do it as well.
You normally look at Gabby on the field, he plays a little bit deeper perhaps than Uzo on the other side. If you were to bring a guy like Babu in, are you expecting him to replicate that? Maybe being a bit deeper?
I think every player is different, and individually they're going to be able to give us different results on the field because they're not going to execute the same way. That it is true. Gabby operates a bit closer and build up moments to the back line, just because technically he enjoys that. Babu's a guy that is more vertical. He's more direct. He wants to go right away, and he wants to exploit spaces behind. It's not like Gabby cannot do it. He can do it as well. This is why both of them play the same position, but they're just a little bit different and they execute in a different way. Regardless of who plays, it's for us, it's not about what the player can give us on the field. It's also about, what do we want as a game plan? What's the game plan and what is the opposition? How they defend, and then based on how they defend and our strengths and the way we want to do things, we also find ways and ways to hurt them. So we'll see who's the one who's going to play this weekend, who's going to be the one who's going to be on that left side. And for us, it's the same thing. We want to be vertical, we want to be dynamic, we want to make sure that we stretch the width of the field. We want to go at teams regardless if we're playing at home or we're playing away.
With San Antonio ranked pretty high in the conference, what are some challenges that you all are going to be facing against them?
San Antonio is a team that I respect a lot. I respect the players, I respect the technical staff. They won it last year and they didn't really lose many games. So you have to respect winners. Winning is the most difficult thing in professional sports, and they've just done it last year. Now, with that being said, it's also very important when you can go and face someone that is doing a good job, because it's a good test for us. It's a good test to see where we stand, and how are the boys gonna accept this challenge. It's gonna be a battle. This is a team that is very direct. This is a team that takes pride on intensity, on character, on mentality, and all of those are good things to test against our talent. We know we have a lot of talent on the field. We know we have a lot of technical ability on the field. Now, can we match their character and intensity? If we can do that with the talent that we have, I think we can have a very good weekend in San Antonio.
You faced a team last weekend that were willing to absorb pressure and normally play quite direct. San Antonio do similarly, just with a good bit more success. What lessons do you take out of that last game that you think will apply to the San Antonio match?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the games are winning in the 2-18s. It's how do you defend in your 18 and what do you do in the opponent's 18. Last game, I believe, we were very, very good in between both of those. we dominated the game, we dominated possession, we controlled the game how we wanted to control it, but we lacked a bit of that that intensity of that in the final third, the braveness to just take challenges, 1v1s, wall passes, balls in the box, shooting from distance as well. If a team is just going to sit in 2 lines of 4 very deep, maybe they're giving you space to shoot from distance. So these are things that we worked on the week. Differently than Monterrey, and respecting Monterrey a lot, is that San Antonio they're gonna press. They take pride on that. They take pride in not giving teams time and space on the ball. They take pride on going at people and being intense. And they call themselves the mentality monsters, right? So it's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a battle for us. And Monterrey kind of sat a bit deeper, just like you said. They absorb pressure. San Antonio absorbs pressure in the box, right? But then higher up the field, they're gonna press us. And you guys know us by now. We have a clear identity, and an identity doesn't shift regardless if we play at home or we play away. So we're gonna go over there to do our game plan, to stay loyal to our identity, and we're putting together a full week of work where we challenge, where we demand, where we push the players to keep getting better at the things that we need to improve, to strengthen the things that we're doing well, and we want to go to San Antonio to win.
What do you think that Jorge Hernandez adds to this side signing this week?
Cleverness, awareness in between the lines, being able to turn and then playing players that are making runs to spaces. They're a team that San Antonio can stretch you if you're I don't want to use the word if you're afraid of them, but if you respect them too much and then you stretch because you're just waiting for that direct long ball, they can stretch you. And if you're stretched versus San Antonio, they're going to win that second ball. It's going to go. Now, if that ball for San Antonio lands on a player like Jorge, this guy has a good vision to go forward and can pick a pass, can also go at people and dribble. And lastly, I think in set pieces, we all know his left foot, how clean it is and how sharp it is on set pieces. So I think it's a very good pickup for them. And I'll be very also interested to see how he uses him in a style that it's a lot different than him. But we've seen it with Parano and with technical players in the past in San Antonio that they still find a way to being able to utilize him.
Coach, you mentioned that the game against San Antonio is going to be a bit of a battle, or it's going to be another battle right before the game, with the fire department facing the police.
Yeah.
How important it is that you all are honoring the first responders in the Valley?
Well, listen, at the end of the day, it's important for any team to make sure that they honor it and they give back to the community. That is key. I've said this multiple times over here. As professional athletes, players, coaches, we go to environments, cities, states, and we take, because a lot of things are given to us. So now for organizations, athletes, coaches to be able to give back, it's very important, and it's as important as anything else that we do. So for our teams and to be able to honor their community by doing things like this is very important. I think more teams should do things like this.
Obviously, it's going to be a very busy week with a midweek fixture next week as well. I know you're going to say that you focus on every single game, but the fans are going to look at that New Mexico game, especially with everything that happened last season, and want to see a result, particularly in that match. Are you going to approach that perhaps with more of a first team or more of a rotated team?
We're going to approach every game the same way. I promise you. I told you at the end of the day, Owen, I know what New Mexico versus Phoenix is. I understand it very, very well. And even when I wasn't part of the organization, when whatever happened last year, I was bothered and I wasn't here. I wasn't representing this organization. So with that, I hope I gave you the answer of the importance of that match. Obviously, we're thinking one game at a time, and we have to go to San Antonio first and make sure that we get the job done in a very hostile environment and in many, many ways and aspects. But then after that is we go to New Mexico, and we want to make sure that, we can do the things that we do at home. We can go over there and be a good team, put together a good game plan that leads to a very good result that our fan base is gonna enjoy very much, and also a lot of kids that are not here right now can enjoy it from whenever they're watching it.
Coach, I heard you talking about this a little bit before the USA-Mexico match.
Yeah.
Your reaction to that and the visibility it brings to soccer here in the Valley.
Oh, it was incredible. I loved it. It was 55,000, right? Almost 56,000 people in the stadium. It was incredible. Everything. the environment, it felt like a World Cup environment, and it was just a friendly match with not even a lot of or all the European players for both sides. So it was incredible for me as someone that has represented the national team before, and understands when you put the national team uniform, and most importantly when you play at home. It felt a little strange to me walking into a stadium in the US and feeling like the US was playing an away match. It was a bit shocking. It was a bit shocking to me because it is my first US versus Mexico match. So listen, all my respect to obviously to both teams, but to the US staff and their players, to being able to step in your own, your own home and country, and feeling like you're playing an away match with all that pressure on top of you, and still being able to put together a good performance that led to a decent result, right? So my respect to all of them, and it was great. Listen, I hope they do it again at least 5 more times, because it was a lot of fun.
You mentioned that hostile atmosphere in San Antonio. Obviously, the last time they were home, there was that incident with the kid running on the field and security not being particularly great about it. Mark Briggs had some things to say after the game about that one on Twitter. What are your thoughts on that, and just safety of players, officials in that kind of situation?
Well, there's always invisible lines, right? And there's lines that should never be trespassed. And I think us as coaches, players, and even the fans and the supporters should know and understand where are those lines, and where can you pass them or not. When I say we're going to a hostile environment in San Antonio, I say this with a lot of respect, but I also say that I love it, and our players love it. We embrace it, we absorb all of it, and these are the games that you enjoy and you embrace. Also, listen, I always say that the supporters play as well. They play a role, but they also have a huge responsibility. They have to make sure that those lines are never crossed. Where safety then becomes an issue, that's when we have a problem, right? So everybody plays a role. Everybody's gonna be important on the weekend. We'll play on the field, and the supporters are gonna have to play on the stands, and they'll play their role. And as long as safety is controlled, and everything else is gonna be good.
Coach, one of your players that has formerly played in San Antonio, Emil, got injured. How's he been with his injury, and how's he been kind of all this season, playing in the first 5 and now obviously being hurt?
He's recovering little by little. He's been pushed. He's been pushed very hard since day one. He's a player that has added the most minutes in the squad, not just in the regular season or Open Cup, also in preseason. And he's a guy that's played multiple positions for us, and I think he's done a good job in all of them. He was in a clear ascending curve, and now just a bit of a setback because he's picked up an injury, which we're treating it right now, and we'll see if he can make it to San Antonio, and if he cannot, I can almost guarantee you that he's going to be with us in New Mexico.